Do you just try to get the ball in bounds on sideline out of bounds situations? If so, you're ignoring a great chance to score. If you want that to change but aren't sure where to look, you must watch NBA games. NBA coaches are the best in the world at sideline plays. Why? Because they happen more often and at the most critical times. If you're looking for some go-to SLOB plays for when your team needs a bucket, check out these plays from the top teams and coaches in the NBA. These plays utilize two primary themes to generate great shots: screen the screener plays and plays that use screens to get a player the ball with space and pace, whether on the initial inbounds or an immediate subsequent action. No matter what level you coach at, these tactics consistently put the defense in bad situations. Additionally, we'll show you counters that give you multiple options off the same play, depending on what the defense does. Steal these plays for your playbook and elevate your end-of-game execution. These clips were compiled and edited by Michele Conti. Be sure to give Michele a follow on X at MicheleConti00. For more great sideline out of bounds plays from college basketball, click the link in the description to get your free PDF. Screen the screener plays are effective for a couple reasons. The initial screen usually puts pressure on the rim, causing the defense to collapse. If they do, the screener is often open, coming to the perimeter on the second screen. Screen the screener plays also offer flexibility in terms of initial alignment and create opportunities for counters that keep the defense off balance. Check out the creative ways NBA coaches utilize this action to punish defenses. Flex plays are a great way to use the screen the screener action. Here the Warriors' spacing leaves the basket area wide open. Because Steph Curry is such a shooting threat, his defender does not want to help on the initial flex screen for Andrew Wiggins. This leaves Wiggins wide open at the rim. This is a great example of your best shooters often making your best screeners. Here's a second example of the same play. Brooklyn uses almost identical spacing to get into their flex action. In this example, both Thunder defenders move towards the player coming off the flex screen. This creates space for Cam Johnson as he comes off the down screen for an open three. The Lakers get into their screen the screener action after getting the ball back to LeBron, who inbounds. This is referred to as a touch action and will be seen more throughout the video. Dalton Connect sets a back screen for D'Angelo Russell as LeBron comes off a ball screen. This sets up the screener action. Because Zach Edey is in a drop, Connect comes off the down screen with space to knock down the three. Atlanta uses Trae Young as their inbounder. After inbounding, the Hawks are in common spacing for a Spain ball screen, a screen the screener action. A Spain ball screen occurs when a ball screen is followed by a back screen for the big who set the ball screen. Trae gets the ball back on the touch action and comes off the ball screen. Bogdanovic is in position to set the Spain back screen. However, the Hawks add a wrinkle by changing the back screen to a down screen. Because the Celtics were expecting the back screen of the traditional screen the screener Spain action, their 5-defender drops to the paint. This leaves space for Bogdanovic to catch off the down screen and attack, leading to an easy floater. Screen the screener actions can also be used before the ball is inbounded. Check out what the Nets do here. This play starts with back screens on both sides. Instead of actually setting the screen, Cam Johnson slips, confusing two of the best defenders in the NBA, Gary Payton Jr. and Jimmy Butler. Nick Claxton then screens for Johnson. Johnson is able to catch the ball with speed and get to the rim for a layup. A great thing about out-of-bounds plays is that you can choose your spacing and alignment. NBA teams creatively use this advantage to flow into actions that get the ball to players with space and speed. This can happen immediately on the inbounds or from an action that the inbounds pass flows into. Look for similar ways to create advantages for your players. Here are some great examples from the NBA. The Celtics start this play with one player on the ball side post. On the weak side, they set a stagger for Derek White coming out of the corner. In this case, Jason Tatum sees White's defender trailing the screen. That's a cue to make the pass to White. White is able to catch the ball with an advantage on his defender, creating a 2-on-1 against Chris Paul. When Paul recovers to Sam Hauser, White is able to score the layup. Here's the same play but with a tweak. In this example, the Celtics have an elite scorer in the post, Jaylen Brown. Additionally, Scottie Barnes' positioning prevents Jason Tatum from passing to White off the curl screen, but allows a post-entry pass. As in the first example, White's defender is trailing, and there's no help at the rim. This allows White to curl to the basket and receive a pass from Brown for a layup. The Cavs start this play with a zipper screen to get the ball inbounded to Darius Garland. Their spacing leaves open an entire side of the floor for Jarrett Allen and Max Strus. Strus uses the down screen and catches the ball with space and speed. The threat of Allen's roll to the rim keeps his defender in a drop, giving Strus space to knock down the three. Sometimes the player meant to catch on the move is the inbounder. This can be effective because the sideline creates a natural space barrier for that player. That makes it harder for the defense to deny once the ball is inbounded. Here, the Grizzlies have Desmond Bane inbound the ball. After inbounding, the Grizzlies are set up for Bane to use a pair of Iverson screens and sprint through to the opposite side. Colin Sexton realizes this and overcommits to defending the Iverson screen. Bane pops back, receives the pass, and is able to rip and go to the rim and score. The Pistons start this play by setting two screens for players going in opposite directions. In this example, the defender on the flare screen up top does a good job getting through that screen. However, the defender at the rim is effectively screened, leaving space for the corner three. Here's the same play ending in a different option. This time, the player guarding the flare screen at the top of the key gets hung up on the screen, leaving the entire weak side of the floor open. Malik Beasley is able to catch and knock down the open three. Some of you may like that action we saw from the Pistons, but may think the initial skip pass is too difficult for your players to make from the sideline out of bounds position. If that's a concern, use a touch action to make the pass easier. After inbounding, Keontae George gets the ball back on a touch action as Colin Sexton prepares to set a flare screen. Since Lou Dort tries to go under the screen, Lauri Markkanen steps back to the three-point line. He catches in the open pocket and knocks down the three. Here's the counter against more aggressive flare screen defense. Markieff Morris tries to fight over the flare screen. This cues Markkanen to curl to the rim. Because the Jazz spacing removes all paint defenders, Markkanen is open to receive the lob for the dunk. Zoom action is popular at all levels of basketball. It's easy to get into a zoom from a sideline situation. Since most teams don't deny with their 5 defender, inbounding to the 5 is a good strategy if you want to flow into a zoom. Here are 2 examples. After setting a back screen, Zubac pops out to catch the inbounds pass. The Clippers are now well spaced to get into their zoom action. Norman Powell takes the zoom with a double gap to drive and shooters spaced all around. He's able to get all the way to the rim for an easy score. The Knicks also inbound to their 5, Precious Achiuwa. They immediately flow into a zoom with traditional spacing, with Mikal Bridges coming out of the corner. Bridges receives the ball with a ton of space to attack and good spacing around him. He's able to stop and hit the pull-up in the lane. Sideline out of bounds plays are great scoring opportunities, if you look at them that way. You get to start your players wherever you want and begin with an action of your choice, allowing you to dictate to the defense. No one does this better than NBA coaches. Adopt and modify the screener and spacing and movement strategies above to put your team in position to score when you get into a SLOB situation. A special thanks to Michele Conti for compiling and editing these clips. Be sure to give him a follow at Michele Conti 00 on X. And if you want instant access to a free printable PDF of 11 more great sideline out of bounds plays from the top teams in college basketball, make sure to click the link in the description. Make sure to click and subscribe and then click the bell button so you're the first to know when we release more new videos. Thanks for watching.